good? What's good, bro? What's good? What's good, Elijah? How you doing? Happy Friday. How's your week? What you did on Wednesday and Thursday, bro? What you did Wednesday and Thursday? What's good? What's good? We back? We back? You hear me? You hear me? You hear me? Let me double check. Oh yeah, that should be good. That should be we up and running again. We up and running again. But I hope everybody's had a great week so far. We made it to the weekend, yo. We made it to the weekend. Um, I'm like I said, I'm trying to just recover from that long ass drive. If you've never done a long drive before, anything above like 8 to 10 hours, and really anything above 10 hours, it feels like you need damn near 2 days to get back to yourself if you're doing it in one shot. Um, Yes, I've been feeling like I'm in the Matrix. Shit don't even feel real. I swear to God, shit don't even feel real, bro. Um, oh, there was a moment, right? So during the drive, it was like a 12 hour senior send off for these girls in the group. I lead and lots of homework. Nice, 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 bro. Wait, I just speaking of the drive, it reminded me real quick, and then we'll talk about some basketball. But it was like a 12-hour drive in total, right? And I was good. I was good. We were vibing. We were listening to some old shit. We were listening to some new shit. We were vibing, right? My girl and I having great conversations. We're just chilling in the car. At like probably 7.5 hours in, right? Probably like 7.5 hours in, almost 8 hours into the drive, right? I was like, fuck, I'm starting to feel tired. I'm starting to feel tired. I'll never forget it, bro. It was like 4:18 left of the drive, and I'm like, all right, I see the clock. I look away, and I'm just singing along or whatever. I look back. I swear a lot of time has passed by. That shit said 4 hours and 17 minutes left to drive. I was like, all right, let me look away again. Let me look away. We vibing, we chilling, blah, blah, blah. I look down. That shit said 4 hours and 16 minutes. Bro, when I tell you, I thought I was going crazy. That shit proceeded to happen all the way to like 4 hours and fucking 10 minutes of the drive. But yeah, that part of the drive was really rough. But we made it. We made it. We're here. Um, let's get into it. Today, we are going to be talking about defense. Oh fuck, let me go intro this bitch. I'm telling you, bro, I don't feel real right now. We're getting back into the swing of things. But anyway, welcome back to another episode of the Jayson Estrera Show, where we talk about basketball, sports, and any other topic that comes our way as accurate as possible. Now, today, we're going to be talking about something that's been on my mind a lot lately when it comes to the game of basketball. And as I was listening to Carmelo Anthony, his podcast, 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, he had Iman Shumpert as a guest, right? So former teammate, NBA champion Iman Shumpert was his guest. And obviously Iman Shumpert is a defensive player. And he had some comments that, that sparked some of this thought, which then led me to a Draymond Green thing and so on and so forth. So we'll be talking a little bit about defense today. But first, actually, because I was just scrolling through Instagram, I mean, this wasn't even planned. Gervonta Davis is retiring. Did you see that? Gervonta Davis is apparently retiring from boxing at the end of this year or next year or whenever the fuck he. I was like, what? But like some of the clips that I saw, he looked like he over it. Like he looks like he done with it. He talking about his mental health. I'm sure he's made enough money to go disappear. He talks about not wanting to be in the spotlight at all. So yeah, man, that was a shocker. Obviously, I'm a big boxing fan. I think Gervonta's really good. I tell my dad all the time, I'm like, Dad, I think that guy's all time, regardless of what people say, because he looks like he's really good at boxing. But he's supposedly retiring. I don't know, bro. I don't know what's going on with that. But let's get into it really quickly over here. Where is it? Let's start here. So like I said, I was watching a little bit of Iman Shumpert on the Carmelo Anthony podcast, and he had this to say. Let's take a look at it.
Talking about
that's playoff basketball.
There's no defense for speed and pace. There's no defense for pace.
There's no defense.
Y'all literally just gave me flowers for it. That's all I did.
Well, it's a different game though.
No, it's not. It's the same game.
Somebody that didn't do it.
How I used to get on the top. How did me and Tony Douglas get into it? Because I told him, dog, you did all this at Florida State. You was all in my handle and shit my freshman year. I remember that shit.
Yeah.
Don't go out here and let Pooh go out here and just dance. Yeah. No, we're not doing that, bro. No. Because now you're telling me I suck.
Yeah.
That's bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I'm looking at it. I'm like, bro, I'm not able to stop this man in practice because I'm the greatest. Right. No, nigga. I watched that much Melo footage. I knew you was going to do that, bro.
Yeah.
You work on that.
Yeah.
You work. You shot 100 of these after practice. You think I don't think you finna go over your left shoulder? Fuck that fake. You going over your left shoulder. You need a bucket. Like, what are you talking about?
Was that a moment?
Jab, step, spin. Like, I know it's coming. He's steady doing it. He'll shove you foul. No, nigga, I know the ball's going to be there. Your hand part of it.
So, obviously, Shump said a lot in that little in that little tidbit right there, right? And you know, a lot of people talk about defense in the NBA nowadays. I feel like there's typically two things that people want to point out, right? It's effort and it's pride, right? Those are typically the two things that the media or people want to call out when it comes to defense in the modern NBA, right? But in what Shumpert was talking about right here, the other key part is, do they study? Are they prepared for these matchups? And something that he was able to say so eloquently right there in such a little bit of time, right? He talks about he wasn't stopping Carmelo Anthony, who's one of the greatest offensive players we've ever seen, right? Carmelo Anthony was a bully basketball type of player, but was also really skilled. And you could kill me for this if you want, but, you know, when he was getting compared to LeBron, right? At 6'8" and the size that Carmelo Anthony was, he never had the physique that LeBron had. But he had the ball on a string for his size. Had the hezzy pull. I mean, he had all of it, right? Like a guard. And so he was tough to defend for anyone. And Iman Shumpert in this clip is talking about his ability to play defense on one of the greatest players, one of the greatest offensive players ever, wasn't because he was necessarily a great defensive player. Shocking, right? But it was because he knew what Carmelo Anthony was going to do. He did tape. He studied. He watched. And that's how he approached all of the players. Right? When people talk about the viral clip that he had talking about the Kobe Bryant game, which he talks about in this podcast again, when in the fourth quarter, Kobe taps him going into the fourth and he says, "Good game, young fella." And Shump was confused. He's like, the game's over? Right? That story. But one thing that I remember from that clip that Shumpert talks about is Kobe had a go-to move, but he had a counter for that go-to move if you try to stop it. And if you try to stop the second thing, he has a counter for that, and had damn near 3, 4, 5 counters. That's how he built his game out. And Shump said, well, after 2 or 3, you're like, what the fuck? And that comes with film. and studying. So when it comes to the defense in the NBA, that's really something that I wonder about for real. You know, there was the Anthony Davis clip from a long time ago talking about did I say Anthony Davis? Anthony Edwards coming into the NBA talking about he didn't like to watch film, right? He didn't like to watch film. And you know, that was a viral thing. And like I said, I really do wonder if that's the case. And the reason being, when you watch a basketball game, I feel like you and I can kind of tell when certain players are going to do certain moves, when they're going to pull up, when they're not going to pull up, depending on what side they're on, what ball the hand is in. All of these little things that we kind of pick up just from watching the game. Sometimes it feels like these guys don't pick up on. And, you know, if it's funny because I'm going to refer to a video game right now, but even in a video game like NBA 2K, and we'll take a look at this in just a second, right? Look at how accurate look at how accurate they get all of the moves, right? Let's take a look at this.
Open next time. Jayson Tatum.
That's Jayson Tatum, obviously.
Tatum takes it.
The step backs.
Not just telling Bertans get out of the way. Step back,
Luka
high
pull.
arcing three. It's good.
Will have a foul to give when they're defending. And here is Luka with a dribble.
Rotation. Be productive for us.
Play multiple positions. They'll play him some at the three.
And, you know, something like that, right? Where you almost wonder, right? You almost wonder, did the NBA 2K staff do more film study than some of these players? Like, for real. Because they don't only have the dribbles or the mannerisms, right? Which is something that a lot of people want to talk about. But they have the rhythm, they have the pace that these players do it that these players do it at, which shows a lot of film time and study. And to the players that want to say, oh, well, why don't you go defend so-and-so and so-and-so? Cool, you could feel that way all you want. Show me how much time you've logged in physically watching film. Not with the team, watching film. Because a huge part of confidence, right, is knowing what's coming in, right? The only reason you would feel unconfident in a situation is if you're unprepared, if you didn't do your homework, if you didn't study, if you didn't prepare. And a lot of these guys go to the same moves. I mean, this is the way basketball has been played for forever, right? Like, people have their signature go-to moves that they like to go to. When it's time to get a bucket, right? Shump was talking about Melo. When it's time to get a bucket, you do this fake. I know you're not going that way. I know you're not going that way. Like when it comes to Luka, for example, right? In any game winner that Luka has, right? Let me see if we can pull it up here. He does this shit all the time, right? He does this move all the time.
Not
right?
just telling Bertans get out of the way.
He does that move all the time. And what do you always see? The player always backs up, right? Why don't you stay there and force him to go right? Force him to go right. Force him to do something that he doesn't typically do. Force him to go right in that situation and shoot a fall away going to the right. Not the step back. Try to see if he could do it on a 2 dribble pull up, on a 1 dribble pull up. That's why, you know, there was There was a game that Jamal Crawford was calling with Luka Doncic, and he called exactly the move Luka was gonna do. That's film. That's study. Now, great players are gonna make great plays. Like I just said with Kobe, he had counters to everything. Luka is gonna have a counter. But force him into the second, third, fourth option of his. The second, third, fourth shot. The one that he doesn't pull out as much. Pause. I feel like too often we see guys getting into these same rhythm shots. Right? Like this Tatum one. How often? If you watch a Boston Celtics game, right? If you watch a Boston Celtics game, how often are you going to see Jayson Tatum hit this shot, whether he shoots it or not? How often?
Tatum takes it.
How often?
Not just.
And like I said, great players are going to make great plays at the end of the day. But I do question how studious these guys really are, right? And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with what they say about the internet nowadays, right? Well, what do they say about the internet? That we're in the golden age of information. We're in the internet. And, you know, they say everything is at the touch of your fingers, right? Is at the touch of your hand. Everything is right there for you. You can look anything up. You could Google anything. YouTube University is a real thing. People become pros and masters at stuff because of YouTube, right? Yet and still, how many times do you hear about people who don't do their due diligence? People who see a headline and don't click on the article. Who see something and don't fact check it. That's how we get fake news. That's how we get people who form entire opinions off of a caption on Instagram. Sometimes they'll have the link right there and people still won't click it. Just because the access to the information is there and it's easier than it's ever been, doesn't mean that people use it. And I think it's very possible that a similar thing is happening in the NBA, right? All of this information is there. All of it. Whether they want to get it through their team, whether they want to find the videos online themselves, whether they want to contact a retired pro, whoever. If you're an NBA player, your resources when it comes to basketball is almost unlimited. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they use it. And when it comes to film study and working on these things outside of the team stuff, how many guys are really doing that? Right? How many guys are actually putting in the extra time to study? And granted, I feel like, you know, people are probably putting in the time on their step backs, getting extra shots up, which is cool. But the other part of the game where you have to think it through. Now, with that, it brings me to something that Draymond Green was talking about on his podcast, right? And this was when Jordan Poole was they were at Washington. I was gonna say they were in Golden State, but they were in Washington for this game. It was one of their first matchups this year, and they did the point. You remember that? They did the point shit. Poole pointed at Draymond, and then Steph hit the shot, and then Draymond pointed at Poole. So let's take a look at what Draymond Green had to say about this.
So then fast forward to the play. They run that's called Horns Twist. They run the guard ball screen. He go off the flare. Our man get whacked with the flare. Me being the defensive guy that I am, I'm gonna make a last ditch effort and try to get a contest. You know what I'm saying? I make the last ditch effort to get a contest. He pointed at me. And I'm like, my man just pointed at me like I was guarding him, bro. I just tried to get a late contest. Like,
Oh, he pointed at you first.
yeah, he pointed at me after he hit the shot as if like he broke me off and like hit the shot, bro. I'm getting a late contest. Ain't even my man. I'm doing more, by the way. On Stackhouse grading, defensive grades, I'm going to get an extra point for that late contest that wasn't even supposed to be my contest. So, you know what I'm saying? I go for the late contest. He pointed at me like he just dropped me off.
And we'll take a look at the play again as well. But, you know, Draymond Green talking about that situation. And obviously Draymond Green is one of the greatest defenders that we've ever seen. And the reason I think he's such a great example of a great defensive player, right? Draymond Green. He's undersized. Physically, he's not someone that's out of the ordinary, right? He's not some super athlete, even when it comes to cardio or ability to work out. Why Dre's so bothered? It seems like wasted energy. If you watch the whole podcast, Elijah, it was because of the energy was there from the beginning. And it was from his teammates, right? It was the other bigs on the team. And he was like, oh, I didn't know you could talk. We talked and da-da-da. So they was just getting into it. And then he said Poole started talking, and he thought it was interesting because last year he wasn't saying a word. So all of a sudden, bro wanted to start talking. But I think it's just friendly banter. It's just Draymond being Draymond. But anyway, I think Draymond is such a great example of a defensive player because he's not physically gifted. He's not super tall. He's actually undersized for a big. Athletic, he's not a super athletic guy. No one's ever talked about him having an unlimited gas tank, kind of like the way they talked about Dennis Rodman, right? Like, it was just unreal how he was able to keep going. And without any of those things, Draymond still is one of the greatest defenders we've ever seen. And a lot of it has to do with him understanding the offense. That's where his defense comes from. It comes from IQ. It comes from film study. It comes from knowing your tendencies and percentages. And it also comes with knowing the game plan. Right? It's all of those things put together and you get Draymond Green. And the reason why I think he's such a great example is because you can recreate the way he plays defense. Like I said, he's not super athletically gifted. Like, it's all timing and it's all knowing where to be at the right place at the right time. And when it comes to this play, for example, right? Poole is gonna come over here and not even set the pick. He's gonna ghost the screen and then flare out. He just touches, right? He touches, flares out. And honestly, this is a deep shot. And granted, Poole is used to shooting shots like this. But Dre gets out, gets a contest off. He was really trying to protect the middle of the paint, which obviously you want to do as a big. And he still got a late contest off, right? And he talks about how on Jerry Stackhouse, who just joined the Golden State Warriors, right? On Jerry Stackhouse's defensive board, he would actually get a point for that. Despite Jordan Poole scoring. And I think it speaks to something that's so simple when you're a competitor, right? Something as simple as getting a positive grade on a contest as a competitor, getting that plus. It does something to you. it does something positive for you, right? Like it gives you oh shit, I was doing something good. Like it wasn't actually a bad thing. So now you're more inclined to do it again. Right? Like if you play a video game, you just try to go and get a badge, right? Those badges mean everything. At the end of the day, it don't really mean anything, but when you're competing and you're trying to get better, all of those little increments add up. And being a former player like Jerry Stackhouse, right, of the old NBA, you could say, right? Even Jeff Van Gundy on the LA Clippers having a positive effect on their defense as an assistant coach, right? Also an older NBA kind of guy. I think it shows that defense is still possible. It shows that, yes, maybe it could be an effort thing. Yes, pride could take place, and we'll talk about this in just a second, but the studying part really does matter. And when you're competing at the highest level and everyone is athletic and everyone is good and can shoot and do all these different things, right? The gap is the knowledge. That really is the gap. And how you're able to give that information to your teammates and work off of it, right? So, you know, I think, like I said, Jerry Stackhouse implementing that into their team. It's kind of like if you play My Career on 2K, right? Like you get bad grades for doing certain things, good grades for doing other things, and it actually helps you because when you're playing that, you're like, oh shit, I actually did leave my person over there and they did get an open shot, and you start to understand how you're supposed to do certain things, right? What the correct play actually is. Which leads me to my next point, right? Which is, and I told y'all, I went down a deep rabbit hole talking about defense. I told y'all, I warned y'all already about this, right? But I do think that the issue with defense in the NBA could also be deeply rooted in the psychology of these players and the way everyone has grown up over the last 20 to 30 years or so. And what I mean by that is this, right? When I was growing up through the 2000s, all I heard when it came to sports was da-na-na, da-na-na. You know what I'm talking about? The Sports Center top 10 plays. That was everything. Everything, right? Players talked about wanting to get on Sports Center and on the top 10 plays and who's in it, who's not in it, da-da-da-da-da. It was a real thing. Right? And that was before we got House of Highlights or Hoop Mixtape or all of that. That was before all of that. Sports Center top 10 plays. That was all I remember growing up. And then if you wanted a snippet of all the games you're watching, you know, they'll give you a highlight of all of the games on ESPN. So highlight culture really started in, you know, the late 90s, early 2000s, where we started to have talk shows, and I didn't know it then, but people are talking about these games as if they watched all of them when they only really got snapshots of it. And so you get a generation of kids that are growing up it's all about the highlight. And then when you start getting into the hoop mixtapes and the high school tapes of all of these kids in AAU getting 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're getting popular off of highlight plays and highlights, it continues to promote this highlight-driven kind of basketball game. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy some of it still. Like, I think LaMelo Ball is incredible. He plays like it's a hoop mixtape. Like, he plays like he on the basket, like he on the playground, like at lunch. And it's fun. But everyone can't do that either, right? And I think, like, I grew up on that in the 2000s, and you could imagine all the kids growing up, that's all they're watching and consuming. A lot of them aren't watching full games or watching film of stuff. People aren't watching the full games back on YouTube like I used to. I mean, that's just that people just don't do that. And so you get a whole generation of kids that glorify the highlights in sports. And then when Shaq retires, right, what does he come up with? I'll let y'all think about it. What does Shaq come up with that's one of the most popular things in basketball for a while? And if you said Shaqtin' a fool, then you would be correct. And that was also a thing, right? NBA players would deadass say, "Oh shit, like damn, like if I fuck up, like I knew I would be on Shaqtin'. I knew I would be on it." And it was a thing. And granted, a lot of it was funny and they're just kind of trolling. People don't even watch the stat lines anymore, just headlines. Facts. That's what I'm saying. Some people don't even be watching the games for real. But so you get a bunch of people who are now in fear of fucking up. And granted, the players at the time in the NBA who were ending up on Shaqtin' a Fool, I don't think that they were actually like embarrassed. I don't think they were actually changing the way that their games were because of those highlights. But a young kid growing up that doesn't know any better and doesn't understand what's actually going on, oh shit, I could just not play defense that hard so that doesn't happen to me. It's as if they'd rather be called a bad defender rather than getting crossed up. Because any great defender knows when you're guarding the best players, those things are going to happen. The God on Braun for going 0-9 said he sucked and was washed, but he had 27 in a win. Yep. I was, it just is what it is, right? That's the reality that they deal with. And like I said, I don't think the NBA players who are currently going through it, I don't think they truly care in the moment. They're so locked into the game plan. But an unsuspecting young kid growing up doesn't understand that their brain could be getting altered by those moments. Oh shit, I don't want to get embarrassed by that. And oh shit, I just want to get highlight plays. So there is psychologically, there's this deep-rooted feeling of, oh shit, you can't fuck up because you don't want to be on Shaqtin' because that was a real thing. And oh, I have to get highlights because highlights means views. And if I get more views, then that means I'll get in front of people, and that means I'll be able to get a lot of money. And if I can get more highlights and less embarrassed, then that's what'll make me a great player. And that's what'll get me a lot of money. I think that's kind of what's happening. Right? We have the way the media has pushed certain things. highlight culture. There isn't enough about the study of the game. Right? That's why people were so amazed by the LeBron James and JJ Redick podcast. And I was excited too because I love to learn, especially about basketball. Like, I want to learn more about basketball, about the way that they see things, the coverage. I love that stuff. But everyone was so excited for it because it's not something that's pushed necessarily. And, you know, these companies, they're businesses at the end of the day, right? It's not being pushed for a reason. It's not an accident, right? It's not it's not an accident why they're not pushing it because, it's not getting the return, the same return that they would get for a bunch of highlight plays that they could post up. And I think that's what we're seeing, right? The highlights and those type of plays are the ones getting rewarded. And no one ever talks about being a smart basketball player, right? No one ever talks about being a smart basketball player. When people talk about Nikola Jokic, right? Excuse me. When people talk about Nikola Jokic, right? They talk about how great he is on offense. His assists, his scoring, the way he's able to find his teammates, and so on and so forth. And granted, no one ever talks about him like a great defensive player because he's not really a great defensive player. But how many times is he the one directing the traffic on defense? How many times is he telling people what to do and where to go on defense? That doesn't get highlighted enough when it comes to Jokic's game. Yeah, he might not be the most incredible one-on-one defender because he's flat-footed, right? If you can get him on his heels and you get him high enough like Anthony Davis or some of them like to do, you can get by him pretty easily. His whole goal on defense is to try to beat you to a spot and body you up. And if you can beat him, then you can get around him. That's why you can't get him too deep. You let his physicality go. You got to push him out. But if you're not watching film, you wouldn't understand that. And you wouldn't see, if you're not watching an entire game, the way he communicates with his teammates, the way he impacts the game on defense by going over their film. He clearly watches film. The whole narrative on him is he doesn't care about basketball, but clearly he comes in more prepared than anybody. But no one ever talks about that part, right? If you've ever heard anyone talk about, like, Chris Paul on defense, oh, he a pit bull, oh, he this, that. No, he knows what's happening. The same way he knows his offense like the back of his hand. He knows the other team's offense like the back of his hand. That's how he plays defense. There's a famous clip of Draymond Green talking about, you know, Kyrie. He was defending a move. He's like, oh, I knew you was going to do that. Right? And so I do think that defense is possible. And here's the thing too, right? And this is the thing that they also haven't spoken about, because everything in the NBA is all about offense nowadays, right? And I'll show y'all this too. The defensive rating right now, we have 8 teams that are at under 110 points. Right? 8 teams. That's the most since 2021-2022, when there were 9 teams. And before that, I think it was 2019-2020, where you had like 15 teams. Yeah, 15 teams that were under 110 points per game on their defensive rating. And clearly, it's become a thing again this year, because in the last couple of years, right, between this year and 2021, 2022, each year there would only be one team under 110 points per game. So despite all the talk about offense, defense has been really good this season as well too. And I don't think it's an accident, right? Iman Shumpert talked about how if they would have beat the Golden State Warriors, it would have changed the trajectory of basketball, because the NBA just copies each other. They say it all the time. The NBA is a copycat league, right? And if they would have won, they would have still done the all right, left elbow or the pinch post, ISO, 1-on-1, nobody move out. That's how the games would have been ending. It wouldn't have been this 3-point heavy barrage type of system. And I think that there's some truth to that. And what we've seen in the last couple of years, right, is not just different teams winning, but different styles. And especially last year, you had a Boston Celtics team that was really good on defense. And so the narrative, very quietly, is kind of shifting. Like I said, we have currently 8 teams that are under 110 points per game on their defensive rating. And no one ever talks about it. No one ever talks about the fact that this is the lowest that it's been in 3 years. And so, is defense back? Slowly, I think it's definitely coming back. And it's going to have to take us talking about it and these players talking about it to make sure that the generation coming up gets that message, right? To enjoy defense. Like for me, the fun thing was trying to predict what somebody was going to do. Right? That was the fun part, was trying to predict what someone was going to do. And the satisfaction that you get when you're able to predict it, right? And I learned very early on that just because they make the shot doesn't mean that you are playing bad defense. Just because they make the shot. I mean, you could have forced them into a tough shot. They could have just made a tough shot. It was still good defense. And I think some people get discouraged and they start saying, fuck it. And then you start getting these walk-up shots. That's the crazy part to me with some of these NBA games. Some of them are just walk-up shots. So, yes, definitely pride and effort are still a key thing. But like I said, being prepared also has to be on the top of that list. And, you know, I think that it's slowly changing. Anthony Edwards spoke about it recently when he said Jokic called out exactly what play they were going to do, and he was mind blown. You know, you hear little tidbits of it, right? And hopefully we get more veteran NBA guys, retired NBA guys in some of these assistant roles so that they can push some of these things the same way that like Jerry Stackhouse and Jeff Van Gundy are doing, because they're obviously having a positive effect on these teams, right? But very quickly, let's talk about this. Now, yo, this Eastern Conference, the Eastern Conference standing looks funny to me. Look at this. You got Cleveland, Boston, Orlando, and the Knicks. Like, this shit looks straight out of 2010, 2011, 2012. Like, what the hell? I feel like I got put in a time machine, bro. And then for the West, we have OKC, Houston, Dallas, who's climbed back into it, Memphis, and then the Golden State Warriors have dropped a little bit. And, you know, like we said before, right? I know that the Golden State Warriors had a hot start. Maintaining that type of play style where you're dependent on, all right, Steph Curry, we're going to expect this amount of points, but the second, third, and fourth scoring option, we don't know who it's going to be and we don't know how much it's going to be. That's a scary way to play basketball, right? We talked about playing non-accidental basketball. Even just today, we're talking about knowing what to expect. When you play basketball like that and you don't know what to expect, it's hard to maintain. And that's kind of what we've seen with the Golden State Warriors. And they've dropped down a little bit, but I still think they make that run to get to the Emirates Cup Finals. But when it comes to actual championship aspirations, I think they're going to be a little bit more up and down than what that start showed. For me, the big thing right now is the Houston Rockets, right? Because they're young, they play fast, and they're really good on defense. But the other thing that kind of gets lost in it is they have two potential stars in Jalen Green and Sengun. And when you have two players like that are potential stars, you have to see how the season turns out because you have to see if they're able to maintain that. And if they are, then they're one step further, you know, going to stardom in the NBA, which means they're going to get some more of those calls. Their confidence is going to go up. So yada, yada, yada. You know, that compared to the Golden State Warriors, for example, who had one superstar for sure, and they just didn't know who else was there. The pecking order just wasn't set straight, right? And then obviously you have the Dallas Mavericks at third, who's, despite the rough start, is still third in the West. And like I said, I expect them and the Boston Celtics to match up in the NBA Finals. Still, I still expect that. And then Memphis, I think I've said it before. Anytime Ja Morant is in their roster, they look like an unbelievable team. Like there's just something about when he's in the game, it not only puts everyone in the right positions, but it almost feels like he sets everyone at ease. And then he's such an aggressive type of player. I know he got thrown out last night or the night before, but that's expected because when he was there and healthy, they were also very good. Now, if we look at the East again, right? Cleveland is very good on defense as well, too. And they have two stars in Darius Garland and in Donovan Mitchell. The Celtics obviously are the Celtics. The Orlando Magic. This is the curious thing for me, right? Because the Orlando Magic are really good on defense as well, too. And Franz Wagner has come out as a star in the NBA this season with Paolo Banchero sitting out, right? I'm curious. Oh, disconnected. Let's see it reconnect again. We back. All right. In the playoffs last year, there was a game where Banchero was going off. And I thought Banchero should have gotten the shot because he was going crazy, but Franz Wagner drove the ball, spin, he got blocked by Mobley. right? That happened last year. And then Banchero ended up hitting the meaningless 3 that made it like a 1 or a 2-point game or whatever. With Wagner's success, right? With Franz Wagner's success, I don't think that problem necessarily goes away. And I know players hate to talk about it, and some people don't want to hear it, but a clear pecking order in the NBA is important. It just is. Right? There needs to be an order in which, all right, this is who's going to get these shots, especially down the stretch. We're going to go to this person, we're going to go to that person, and so on and so forth. The first, second, and third option are clear and set in stone. And if you have two players that are kind of fighting for that position, you're going to get situations like last year where Banchero probably should have taken that shot. That's not to say that Franz Wagner doesn't deserve to take that shot, but in that game when Paolo Banchero was on fire the way he was supposed to take it, and he just didn't. And so that understanding comes with time and experience and film study. So, like I said, I'm curious how they'll look when Banchero comes back. I'm gonna expect them to, let's be honest, I'm gonna expect them to struggle a little bit when he comes back, because you got to think they've been really harassing on defense, and you're gonna have a guy that was injured and sitting, trying to get back into the swing of things. He's gonna be kind of a liability on defense at first. And then you're going to have the push and pull when it comes to the tug of war, when it comes to who's going to shoot some of those shots. So I'm curious how that'll come out. They've had a really good start so far, so they might fall a little bit when Banchero comes back. And then that leads me to my New York Knicks at 4. Them boys look good, man. Them boys have been looking good. I think I said it a couple weeks ago. They're starting to find their footing. They're starting to figure out their roles a little bit more clearly. Who's going to be the ones that's handling the ball for the most part, the playmakers, who's the slashers, the shooters. Again, getting their pecking order and set, right? And I think that really goes a long way. Jalen Brunson is starting to really come around and have some really, really good games, which you love to see. And, you know, I think Karl Anthony Towns, he's never going to get the credit for it, but he's been unbelievable. He's been unbelievable, right? He's kept them afloat when, you know, other guys weren't stepping up. Excuse me. So, you know, Karl Anthony Towns has been doing his thing. So when it comes to the East, I think Boston obviously is still my number one contender. I do think that the Cleveland Cavaliers are legit. And by the end of the season, I think the New York Knicks will look really, really good as well too. Which leads me with Orlando Magic is still a wild card. I think we still have to see. I know they made it to the playoffs last year, but we still have to see how the chemistry builds out with this team. So they're still a wild card to me. And then you have the Milwaukee Bucks that are kind of peeking in. And right now they look really, really good. Giannis seems to be figuring it out with Dame, and I think by figuring it out, it means I'm just going to dominate this motherfucker. And Dame has kind of been finding his way around that. So we'll still see. They're at 11-10 right now. Also, still my pick to go to the Emirates Cup final against the Golden State Warriors, but they're still a wild card to me. I expect the Bucks to fall apart. All right, who do you not have faith in on that team? Is it Giannis? Is it Dame? Is it Doc, or is it the supporting cast? Who do you think is gonna be the main reason for it? I want to hear this shit. All of the above. My man said all the above. Hey, listen, man. I'll say this: even if they make the playoffs, if the Milwaukee Bucks go up 3-1, then you 100% win it if you're playing against them, because Doc Rivers will lose that. I think they had their team that blew it up. Yeah, like they shouldn't have let fucking Drew go. They are bugging for that for sure. It does seem a bit off. But like I said, I think the way that they're playing right now, you know, the Emirates Cup is early in the season. I think they have a pretty good chance to win it. And like I said, I think the Golden State Warriors have a pretty good chance of winning that as well, too. But yeah, Milwaukee Bucks are a wild card to me. Now, for the Western Conference, OKC is legit. Dallas is my pick to go to the NBA Finals again. Legit. Memphis Grizzlies, it depends on whether or not Ja Morant is healthy. That's really what it depends on, whether or not Ja Morant is healthy. If he's healthy, I think they are a legit in terms of just a threat. I'm not saying that they're going to make it to the finals or even the Western Conference Finals, but they would be a hard out if Ja is healthy. The Houston Rockets, to me, are a wild card still. Jalen Green, we have to see him kind of step up, and also Sengun. So, you know, they can have a good record. I think their defense will probably carry them for most of the year. But I expect them to also have some downs in this season. They're a wild card to me as well. The Golden State Warriors, to me, are still a wild card. I think we end up seeing like a Phoenix Suns rise into the top 5. The Clippers might. I don't know. They've looked pretty good. The Clippers might, and the Denver Nuggets, to me, just they don't look that great right now. So, you know, they talked about how the West was really stacked, but when in terms of actual real contenders, I feel like in the top 5 we have what did I say? 1, 2, 3 out of the top 5 for me in the Eastern Conference, I think, are legit contenders, and 1, 2 out of the top 5 in the Western Conference to me are legit. So we'll see how this shakes out. I could be an idiot. I could not be an idiot. We're going to find out. Clippers are boo-boo. Oh, yeah, I forgot you hate James Harden. Yo, when he get a 60-piece this year, I'm going to put up a montage just for you, Elijah. I'm going to put a montage together just for you, brother. All 60 of them things. I can't wait. I'm going to DM him right after I get off. I'm going to be like, you got to get a 60-piece for my boy. Oh, shit. All right, but that's going to do it for me today. I know I was fucking yapping. We was talking about everyone's favorite topic in basketball for the whole day, which is defense. Oh, yeah, I feel physical pain when James has a big game. My man said physical pain. He can't do it. You got to do one of these. You got to do the look away. You do like the peripheral. So you're not actually watching. You're just doing peripheral vision type shit. I watched the replay anyways for the feet, but I still don't like it. Wait, but that's real. Wait, hold on. But that's real though. Like, as sports fans, like, that's a real thing. Like, we can't hate on that. Like, we just be hating on people sometimes. Yo, that's hilarious. Hey, I've done that with Bron before too. He go get 40. I'm like, yeah, but he's 6'9", 270. Yo, what Trevor Ariza supposed to do with him? It's okay. It's fun to hate. It's fun to hate. No cap. Like, think about it. Think about it, bro. If you had to go through life not hating on anybody, you would be really bored with your life. Like, you would be really, really bored with your life. So fuck it. Hate on people. Like, fuck it. It would be really boring. Like, I'm just being honest. We just real people here. We just real human beings, right? Like, it's like, when they say, like when a good team run up against a bad team, or like when a good team run against another good team, but they have injuries, they're like, man, I ain't even trying today. That's real shit. Like some people don't want to admit, but that's real shit. Like, hey, man. Like, I was watching. Yaakov. I don't even want to say it, but I'm going to say it. Like, when I was watching the Tim Donaghy documentary on Netflix, and he was talking about how they started calling all the travels and they started calling all the carries on Allen Iverson. And they said that it was because he had threatened, they said, allegedly, Allen Iverson had threatened Steve Jabby or something like that, right? And obviously, I'm a fan of the game, so like, don't do that to Allen Iverson. But like, on a human level, like, imagine your homie called you and he said, yo, I just got threatened by this motherfucker. You're like, I bet I'm gonna go take care of it. And by take care of it, they said we're all gonna call a carry on him. And like, on a human level, you can't be mad at that. like real shit. Like, on a human level, like, they friends. Like, you can't get mad at that. Am I wrong? All right, man. I think I'm gonna have to get off before I start getting in trouble on this motherfucker. We having too much fun now. It's a Friday. I'm out of here, yo. It's been a great week. I've been delusional all week since we got back. No bullshit. But it's been fun. I appreciate y'all so much, man, for welcoming me back. This guy Elijah said, Mama, get the popcorn the other day. I got hyped. I almost started barking. All right, I'm tweaking. I'm out. Yo, thank you guys again, as always. Before I get out of here, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. It really helps the channel out. We are trying to take this to the moon, and we're not going to stop until it gets there. As always, thank y'all for hanging out with me. Thank you for watching. Elijah, you're the fucking greatest. Y'all have a great Friday. Y'all have a great weekend. I'll see y'all on Monday, man. Y'all the best. Peace out. Be fresh this weekend. I'll see y'all later. Peace.